Hear the sage as their song descends, like heaven's rain or jizz. And washes the years, the dust of the many orgies, from the hot tail of the long and direct Dragonlance.
Dust of the orgies.
For an ages deep past memory and word, in that ancient time known as the mid-1980s, when the two trilogies anyone remembers rose from the laps of Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss. Believe it or not, the rose from the laps part is from the original. Fictional characters, sexy and suave, made love on this world of Krynn. Thus began the age of bow chicka wow wow. The sheets were tangled. Characters of all races plunged their blue crystal staffs deep into other characters' dragon orbs. And as new, even sexier characters continued to appear, we called to the internet, into the cold, dividing world of podcasting, to the ears of four horny nerds, asking of them, which Dragonlance character is the most fuckable? We are about to hear their answer. Welcome to Hard Choices, where we rank the fuckability of fictional characters and discover what lies at the throbbing heart of horniness. We find the median, the zenith, and the nadir of fuckability, but really, this podcast is about the dragons we accidentally fell in love with along the way. Yeah, I hope you're ready to fuck dragons and death knights and actual literal gods, because it's time for Dragonlance. Schneiderman, feels good to be back, been too long, and joining me tonight are my fellow members of the Heroes of the Pants. Meganbob.
Oh, Dragonlance. I'm sorry, I thought we were doing Bad Dragon.
Dan Mulcairn.
The lance is my penis.
And Neal Butler.
The lance is Dan's penis.
Very good. Now, as you all know, we're all here because 5 years ago, we made a pact that said we would meet back here at the podcast of The Last Bone to rank 21 Dragonlance characters, specifically from the Chronicles and Legends trilogies, in order of fuckability. Unfortunately, I did receive a letter from Claire Mulcairn saying she wasn't coming.
No, I'm here.
No, it says you're not coming.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
sorry.
I'm going to be honest, the letter was super long and I didn't read the whole thing, but it did have something to do with the nebulous definition of godhood, so sorry about that. Those of us who are here, however, have ranked these 21 characters from most fuckable to least fuckable. We will start by going around the table and revealing which character was our median, our number 11, and then work our way down through the lower planes until we reach the abyss, where we'll find the character at the bottom of our lists. But never fear, evil always turns upon itself. And before long, we'll find ourselves rising on dragon's wings, soaring through the sky higher and higher until we reach the home of the gods themselves, arriving at the character who ranked number 1. As we go through our lists, each host will provide a brief reason for their ranking, though they do have 3 big feels at their disposal, which will allow them a somewhat lengthier explanation. Once everyone has gone through the entirety of their lists, we will pray for the guidance required to combine all 4 into a single master list, presumably so we can carve it into some discs. But be warned, some dissent within the ranks is inevitable along the path to victory, and we will take some time to unpack some of the decisions our companions have made. Before the War of the Lust begins, however, it is important to make sure everyone understands the established rules of battle, in this case, the definition of fuckability, and for that, we turn to the wizard of fuckability themselves, the head of the Order of the Edible Robes, Meganbob.
Fuckability is not about what they look like, it's about what they fuck like. So assume that you are into them and they are into you. How good is the sex? And what is it like?
With that, it is very nearly time to unveil our list of 21 characters, but first, we have to do some honorable mentions. The characters who might have made it onto the list if they hadn't been too fucking arrogant and got a volcano thrown at them instead.
Number 1 on honorable mentions is Dulket Ariakis?
No idea. Can't help you.
No idea. That was part of the reason why we didn't put him on the list. I just have to say his last name. He's a fighter wizard, and yes, you're the commander-in-chief of Takhisis' dragon armies, a formidable mage, an exceptional warrior, but we have no time for Gary Stews here in this house.
Number 2 is Elistan. He was a cleric, formerly a priest in the Seekers, who became a cleric of Paladine after he was healed by Goldmoon. Everybody says how wonderful he is. Presumably in one of the later trilogies, we find out why.
Number 3 was supposed to be the dark goddess whose name I refuse to even attempt to pronounce. Takissis, something like that. Whatever. The point is, my honorable mention is Kaz the Minotaur. It's shameful that we don't have him on here, even though he doesn't appear in the first 2 trilogies, I don't think. Whatever. Shameful. He's a Minotaur, he's hot, he fucks, he should be here, but he's an honorable mention.
We all know that he fucks Miles.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Number 4, Fist and Dantalus. Class wizard. I'm excluded because it's not entirely clear if he's actually Raceland in disguise, but does get a gold star for having Fist in his name.
All right.
I should also say, I don't know if this is a good place to say it here, for the first time in Hard Choices history, we are all recording here in the same room at the Inn of the Last Bone. Is that?
I don't think this is the first time, because we did Mortal Kombat together.
Well, but Cam was on the call for that.
Oh, that's true.
This is...
Cam was not in person, yeah. So this is the first time we're all here.
So this is the first time we're all in the same room, along with a couple of other denizens of the Inn of the Last Bone that you may hear in the background.
The podcast of the Last Bone.
Oh, podcast. Yeah.
Hello, me and Kid are here, and I want to say, I think it's even a bigger accomplishment in terms of like a record-breaking thing, because I don't think we did it once during Smash Fiction or Extraordinary League.
Right, I know.
Not once. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I had a whole joke about how Claire wasn't here, and then she fucking shows up.
No respect for your intricately crafted narrative. Anyway, as the person who's going to be editing this episode, I ask you to be patient with any background noises, which are going to be exceptionally difficult to edit out of this one. We will try to keep it down on our end, but hopefully you'll have a nice listening experience either way. Thank you. Let's...
They're already drunk, Dan. They don't care.
You're right.
All right, and now the 21 characters who we are going to fuck, and not in weird short stories that get written later and only exist so it can turn out we had a kid with them for some reason, but right now.
Number 1, Tanis Half-Elven. Class Ranger. De facto leader of the Heroes of the Lance. Never met a problem that he couldn't brood about due to his mixed heritage.
Number 2, Caramon Majir. Class Fighter. A lovable himbo, unreasonably devoted to and protective of his twin brother Raceland, occasional problem drinker.
Number 3, Raceland Majir. He is a wizard, frail and sickly, very driven. He sacrifices health to pass the test of high sorcery and become a fully fledged mage.
Number 4 is Sturm Brightblade, who's a knight, noble to a fault. He spent most of his life cosplaying as a Salamnic knight in his dead father's armor.
Number 5, Tika Whalen, class Fighter Rogue. A classic buxom barmaid with red curls and green eyes who preferred to wield a frying pan in combat until she learned to wield a sword from Caramon, among other similarly shaped objects.
Number 6, Lorana Kanan. She's a fighter, and although she was raised as a spoilt princess of the Qualinesti Elves, Lorana stepped up to become the charismatic and much-admired Golden General, a pivotal figure in the War of the Lance.
Number 7, Flint Fireforge. Fighter. The grouchy father figure of the group. As a dwarf, he is obliged to be stubborn, wield an axe, and have a love-hate relationship with a character of a different species. In this case, Tasselhoff.
Number 8, Goldmoon, a cleric, princess of the Keshu tribe, who was exiled for sharing her beloved Riverwind's belief in the old gods. Later becomes a cleric of Mishakal, goddess of healing.
Number 9, Riverwind. Barbarian. Brought up to believe in the old gods, Riverwind was shunned by the rest of the Keshu tribe, but managed to win the heart of their princess Goldmoon and prove the old gods' existence. To Goldmoon, at least, by retrieving an artifact of the goddess Mishakal that had healing powers.
Number 10, Kitiara Uthmatar, a fighter, half-sister of Caramon and Raceland, and former lover of Tanis. Kitiara did not show up for the companions' reunion because she got a better offer and some rad dragon armor from the bad guys.
Number 11, Gilthanas Kanan, alright. Fucking that dude. Fighter sorcerer. Easygoing brother of Lorana who later got angst after he discovered his beloved Silvara was secretly a dragon. Spoiler alert for later on this list.
That's right. Number 12, Barum Everman. Class plot device. Accidentally killed his sister while trying to steal a giant emerald from a ruined temple to Takesis, and is now the functionally immortal final key that could lead to Takesis' return to Krynn.
Number 13, Lord Soth, Death Knight. Condemned to living undeath by his lover as they both died in the cataclysm, Lord Soth can kill with but a word and spends his time in Dargard Keep doing the Dragonlance equivalent of listening to Disintegration by the Cure on repeat at full volume.
Number 14, Fizzban. Wizard, a confused old mage who tagged along with the heroes of the Lance, whether they wanted him along or not. Fizzban was later revealed to be a human avatar of the god Paladine.
Number 15, Tasselhoff Barefoot. A rogue. A kender. Usually called Tass for short, his insatiable curiosity meant that he was rarely afraid no matter the situation, which is a good thing as his racial tendency towards kleptomania and lockpicking frequently got him into trouble.
Number 16, Silvara, class Silver Dragon. While masquerading as a Kaganesti elf, Silvara fell in love with Gilthanis until he learned of her true draconic nature. As the guardian of Huma's tomb, Silvara was also responsible for sharing the secrets of the Dragonlance with the heroes.
Number 17, Dalamar Argent. Dark elf / wizard. Exiled by the Sylvanesti elves for his pursuit of forbidden magic, Dalamar became Racelin's apprentice, while at the same time spying on Racelin on behalf of the Conclave of Wizards. You can tell how much I know about all of this.
This is like first edition where elf is a class, huh?
That's right.
Number 18, Lord Verminard. Class Dark Cleric. The last descendant of Huma Dragonbane, Verminard became one of the first clerics of Takesis, but was abandoned by his dark mistress in his hour of need, and slain by the heroes of the Lance.
Number 19, Chrysania Tyrrhenius. Class Mystic. A pampered noblewoman of Palanthas, Chrysania became a revered daughter of Paladine after being converted by Elistan. She later met Racelin after his heel turn and vowed to bring him back to the side of good, refusing to admit to herself that she had fallen in love with him. She later hooked up with a dude who then turned into a tiger, so lots of good decisions from Chrysania.
Number 20, Alhana Starbreeze. Noble, a princess of the Sylvanesti elves, Alhana met and fell in love with Sturm Brightblade when she traveled to Tarsus to plead for human aid in freeing her people from the dragon armies. Of course, this forbidden love ended in tragedy, and Alhana married Portheos, eldest brother of Gilthanis and Laurana, in an effort to repair the rifts between the Qualinesti and Sylvanesti nations.
Number 21, Astinus the Chronicler. Class Librarian. Astinus works day and night in his study in the Great Library of Palanthas to record all events as they occur on Krynn. Seemingly immortal, Astinus is thought by many to be a human avatar of the god Gillian, the neutral god of the book.
So with those characters in mind, it is now time to get into the lists. Starting with number 11. And we'll start with Dan. Dan, who's your number 11?
My number 11 is Fizzban. And
Wow, already we get the gasp from Meganbob.
it's gonna be one of these episodes, y'all. After much hemming and hawing, this is the position on the list that I picked for Fizzban. But honestly, I could have just rolled the d20 and just looked at it and been like, yeah, that sounds about right. We'll put him there. Because he's the avatar of a god. And he's extremely skilled and powerful. So you would think that if he was interested in ensuring your sexual gratification, it would be a slam dunk. But the thing is, he always has to cloak his power and effectiveness beneath this facade of forgetful slapstick disastrousness. So will you come? Almost certainly, but he's also gonna set your pubes on fire.
It's gonna be a journey getting there, in other words. All right, interesting. Bob, you're number 11.
Kitiara.
Okay.
She's sexy and manipulative. I'm being led around by the boners, not maybe a recipe for a relationship. But if you've ever had that moment where somebody just fucking got you sexually, they just fucking had your number, that is so worth it. I'm you know what? Happy to be manipulated, baby. That's just fine.
Neal, you're number 11.
My number 11 is Gilthanis Canaan. He was the youngest son of the Qualinesti royal family, so he gets, all the good shit, but none of the responsibility. I think he's a bit of a fuckboy, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's going to be a fun night.
Fair enough. My number 11 is Karaman. Look, there's pros and cons to being the platonic ideal of the himbo. So is he a wow boobs? Possibly, but he's also more focused on his own pleasure than yours. I think here's my thing about Karaman. He needs to be trained. He needs a lot of training. If you can train him, he's gonna be great. He's gonna be fantastic. It just got put in a lot of work, and I think that lands you at the medium point in the list.
Interesting.
So let's start heading downstairs, as they say, with Dan's number 12.
Big feels.
Uh-oh.
Gold Moon.
Wow. Okay.
So I'll be honest, I don't really see her as a very sexual person. I think she's romantic and she cares a lot about like her people and her mission and whatever. But like sex just doesn't seem like it's a priority for her. So what I did for this is for all the characters on my list, even those that I thought would outright be like bad in bed, what I did was I was like, okay, I don't think they're going to be good, but there's got to be an ideal situation for all of these. So I kind of started like, putting that together. So for Gold Moon, I kind of struggled to do this with her, but I think that so in the ideal situation, she's been given like a grandiose quest from her god. You're her like traveling companion. You travel with her. There's lots of dungeons. There's lots of monsters. Lots of like nights on the road. Finally, evil's defeated. She's fulfilled her quest. Good has won the day. And in that moment of ecstatic triumph, she throws herself at you as like a physical act of mutual celebration. So yes, really good sex is possible, but you have to jump through some hoops first.
All right. Bob, you're 12.
Silvara. She a hot dragon lady. Like that's not super the part that does anything for me. I mean, it's not nothing, but it's the fact that revealing her true form lost her the love of this person. I'm like, oh, what? No. You reveal your true form to me. I will love you.
That's very on brand.
I am going to show you how beautiful your true form is. I don't know how to eat cloaca, but I'm gonna fucking find out.
She can move in with you in Poison Ivy.
Yes.
All right, Neal, you're 12.
My number 12 is Riverwind. As a barbarian, I think he'd be pretty wild in the sack. He's usually depicted wielding a spear, so he's obviously got experience working a long shaft. Plus, Riverwind is usually quiet and stoic, so he's not going to want to talk about it so much afterwards. So it's a wham bam thank you Riverwind from me.
All right, my number 12 is Verminard.
Ooh.
Look, there's something about a conqueror in the service of a dark goddess. Sue me, I'm sorry. He's a big, blonde Viking motherfucker who wants to conquer the world. I'm only human.
This is a safe space, Miles. It's fine.
Moving to 13. Dan, back to you.
My number 13 is Sturm Brightblade.
Okay.
And normally I'd say he's a lights-out missionary position-only type of guy. But I think, and again, this is me trying to find the silver lining, I think that's only if you let him be in charge. I think there's a little part of Sturm that likes getting pushed around, right? Like, he was together with Kitiar for a long time, and it is impossible
A long time?
Long enough.
How long?
A night.
Yeah, like a day.
All right. He was with Kitiar. And from what I can gather, the two of them enjoyed it. And it is impossible for me to imagine that sexual encounter with them having vanilla sex.
That's a good point.
Right? So I think Kitiar was driving that fuck bus.
That's a good point.
And Sturm was like frowning and grumbling about it, but he secretly liked it. So I think even in that situation, you're not getting a lot from him. But if you're into helping others fulfill their desires, I think that Sturm has something to offer.
Okay. We're over to 13 for you, Bob.
Ksania! Okay, I feel such a deep kinship with Ksania.
Yeah, I imagine.
I was like, you my bad decision, girl. I see you. So I was like, I think we're going to see each other and we're both going to go, but I can fix them. Go directly towards each other and go, oh, it just cancels out. And then the evening ends and we're just like, what if we just got out pictures of Raceland and just masturbated about that? Is that the definition of a successful fuck? I don't know, but it'll be good night.
Apparently it's a 13, so... Speaking of which, Neal, you're 13.
My 13 is Silvara. In her non-dragon form, Silvara is a Kaganesti elf, which is a wilder elf. And they're all about living with nature in the forest. And that just gives me a picture of like a romantic tryst in a moonlit lake. Which, I mean, that does it for me. That's pretty sexy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It's never clearly spelled out whether a dragon can only turn into one human form or multiple. So maybe there's something else there. But I think she's...
my monster manual.
I think in D&D they can just polymorph themselves.
I think they can just
have like a
polymorph,
preferred form, but I think they can become whatever they want.
The one thing about Sylvara is she's always seems to be preoccupied by thoughts of her sister and whether or not she's just repeating what her sister did many years ago with Wiamat. So that's why she's solo for me.
Okay. My 13 is Alhana Starbreeze. This is part of like a tier of people where they're just kind of boring, but fine, but just kind of boring. So I feel like she's pretty basic, both in personality and in bed, but she's rich, so at least the sheets will be nice. High thread count, baby.
Yeah.
I love that you're so anti-capitalist, but whenever the pleasures of life just come upon you, you're
He
like...
doesn't want to pay for them. He doesn't want to give that money to Jeff Bezos. But if he has the opportunity...
Right. Since I live in a capitalist world, I have to... all you can do is you have to work with what you're given, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Dan, we're on to 14 for you.
My number 14 is Tanis.
Okay.
I think there's a good fucking Tanis, but you really have to I think you really have to understand him and work for it. You know, if you just approach him openly and you try to have just normal, straightforward, vanilla sex with him, he's going to be uncertain and indecisive. You know, he's going to be self-conscious. It's going to be awkward. Neither of you are going to come away pleased with the situation. The key is to wait until you're in some sort of public setting. I'm thinking you're in a high-class gala or something like that, a big fancy party, and you pull him into an unoccupied room and you start taking his clothes off. And so this engages his leader in crisis, which is where he's great. That's where he excels. Yes, exactly. So you'll find yourself with a partner who's he's decisive, he's strategic, he's focused on blowing your mind while staying one step ahead of the roaming security guards. So yeah, I think you can perform, but again, you have to set him up for success first.
Swoon.
All right. Well, that's a tough act to follow. Bob, who's your 14?
Speaking of swoon,
Yeah.
Verminard.
Yeah.
He's so wounded. He's so fucked up. So profoundly rejected from birth. I was like, let Paragon Bob fuck him and fix him.
Goddamn right.
Renegade Bob, just seduce him, manipulate him, just okay, fine, I'll take over. I'll be Dark Mistress. And then I guess regular Bob's just gonna have a great fuck, and then afterwards catch him right in the afterglow and go, so have you thought about therapy?
I like the implication that there is a regular Bob. Neal, who's your 14?
My number 14 is Sturm Brightblade. I think he probably is pretty vanilla. It'll probably be a fun game taking all his armor off at first, but there's all these little buckles and straps to open, so it'll probably get old.
Have you tried to rip them off and get mad about it?
Yeah, absolutely, because they're his daddy's armor.
Right, yeah.
I think he'll probably recite a little poem about Yuma either before, during, or after the deed. He will be a complete gentleman about the whole experience, though, so that's not nothing.
Do we think Sturm calls his penis Yuma?
He apologizes first. Okay.
Yeah, I think you get lots of apologies during sex with Sturm.
All right, my number 14 is Gilthanas. Very similar to Alhana in that I had to be reminded that he existed in the books as I was remembering Dragonlance. I don't think there's a whole lot going on here, but again, you're not going to have a bad time, and the wine is really good. It's just kind of the same thing. I think Alhana's kind of just on a higher tier than him, just by virtue of being a better person.
I'm just realized I didn't do my usual method of envisioning where the fuck takes place.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, that really swings some of these characters. All right, well, I'm proceeding on as written.
Well, proceed with your 15.
My 15, Big Feels. Flint Fireforge.
Oh, wow, really? Okay.
If you act like a nice and normal person during your encounter with Flint, you're going to have some mildly disappointing sex. It's not that he's unskilled, he's just a grumpy downer, and he kind of just he grumbles anytime you try to suggest doing something different or something fun. He's just it's just an uphill struggle to get him to really engage or have fun. So I think the key here is you gotta shoot the moon with Flint. You have to not be a nice and normal person. You have to push his buttons. You have to get him riled up and angry. Do things that annoy him. Grumpiness is his single strongest emotion, so if he's into you, which is the assumption behind this whole ordeal, I think that irritation is going to cascade into a sexual tidal wave in which he fucks you out of a desire to get you to shut the hell up. Now, has this already happened with him and Tasselhoff behind the scenes?
Almost certain.
It is impossible to know for sure, but I definitely know for sure.
I love how that's 15 for you. Damn,
That's 15.
It's a deep list. All right, Bob, who's your 15?
Lorana, I can admire the slow maturation of a character, into this fully fledged version of themselves. That says long-term project to me. It's going to start out with a lot of soppy looks. I'm not super into that. The fuck I get at the end of this is going to be confident, self-assured, powerful. Frankly, it's going to be better than Tanis fucking deserves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Neal, who's your 15?
My 15, and I'm frankly kind of surprised he got up this high, but it's Tasselhoff Barefoot.
Interesting.
Yeah, of all the characters on the list, I find it hardest to believe that Tasselhoff would ever think of anyone in a sexual way. I think his innate curiosity might make the whole undressing and exploring each other's body stage fun, but he'll almost certainly get distracted by the stitching on the bedclothes or the wax of the bedside candle melting into an interesting shape, or, anything at all. He might have some interesting toys that he happened to pick up by accident in his couches, but odds are you'll end up using them on yourself while he hunts for an interesting bug he swears he saw crawl under the wardrobe.
All right, my number 15 is Tanis, and this is a big feels for me. When I was thinking about Tanis, Bob and I just recently recorded our most recent romance novel episode. And this romance...
That's over on the NXT Wrestling podcast.
That's right, over on the NXT Wrestling fan. Check that out. Probably, I don't know, it might be up before this. I have no idea what the timing of this is going to be. But in this book, there's a sex scene between the two characters. Spoiler alert, it's a romance novel. And it's like really good sex, right? But at the end of it, the dude feels guilty about it because of social factors, external social factors, and like mentions something about that and completely ruins it for her. And the thing about me is that for all my faults and benefit of whatever, an inescapable fact about me is that I am a human person. And Tanis has baggage about being with humans. And I think no matter how good the sex is, it could be great. It probably is great. I think Tanis is a good lay. He's going to fucking say something at the end, and he's going to fucking ruin it.
Just pop the balloon.
He's just going to pop the balloon right then and there. So that lands you at 15. I'm not going to say he's bad. But he's bottom of this tier of of people who I would fuck, but I don't think it would be great. I don't think I'd come away from the experience happy. All right. 2 big feels in 15. Let's see if 16 has any surprises for us. Dan, who's your 16?
No big feels here. My 16 is Astinus. I just don't really want to fuck Destiny of the Endless. I feel like he's just this kind of aloof, imperious figure who's just not interested in the material world beyond what it means for him in his role as a historian. Yeah. But we do see a rare moment of anger when Raceland is studying in his library. So I think, again, similar to Flint, if you want a good fuck out of Astinus, you have to keep pushing him and needling him until this exterior breaks down. It's like when the Watcher from Marvel is forced to break his oath of non-interference. So you got to do a legwork to get him to that place. But once he's there, I think you will discover he has some real obscure volumes of Krynn's version of the Kama Sutra that he's just sitting around and he's kind of eager to break out.
Dan's thing on this episode is needling people until they have sex with him.
Look, man, I'm doing what I can with what I've been given.
This is the episode where Dan discovers what bratting is.
This is why Bob likes it so much.
All right, Bob, who's your 16?
Tanis Halfeld.
Yeah.
He's good. Solid fantasy fuck. It's fine. Does all the things. I'm sure you have an orgasm, maybe more than one. You get a tragic backstory, inner conflict, deep loyalties, lost love, blah, 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 blah. Fine. Great. Tremendous.
Enough said.
I cannot rank him lower because I'm sure he is technically competent.
Yeah, that's how I felt about him.
I struggle to give even a single fuck.
All right. Neal, you're 16.
My number 16 is Gold Moon. She was brought up as a princess who believed that she was going to become a goddess, and I feel that sort of attitude is not going to lead to a good lay. And as a cleric, she'll probably spend a lot of time either evangelizing or talking about what Elistan would do better.
Oof.
Whoa.
So, yeah, that's just going to be the biggest turn-off. Despite her canonically being one of the most beautiful people in Ansalon, that's a thanks but no thanks for me.
Okay. All right. My number 16 is Sturm. I do have written down just missionary. Now, Dan, I appreciate your point about the night with Kitiara and what that says. However, I am no Kitiara with Matar when it comes to manipulating people into fucking how I want them to fuck. I think with me, he would just be like, no, why would you do anything else? What else is there? I'd just be like, all right, man, whatever. He's pushing through his various hangups the whole time. He's got daddy issues. You're not even allowed to touch the mustache.
No.
Yeah,
No.
you're not allowed to.
Oh, I
it's a
didn't think
sacred
about that.
Knights of Solamnia thing.
Yeah.
However, the reason he makes it up to 16, he does cuddle afterward. So, Dan, we're back to you with 17.
My number 17 is Tasselhoff Burfoot. And this is mostly a me thing. Like, I like reading about Tasselhoff. I think he's like a really fun and interesting character, but like trying to deal with that personality in real life would drive me crazy. I think in bed, like, you know, Neal kind of touched on it. He's going to get bored very easily. And I think if he manages to focus on having sex, he's going to want to like keep trying different things all the time. Like you barely get started on one thing before his like mind just shifts gears and he wants to do something else. And you know, like some variety during sex is great, but like if something is working, you want to like you don't need to like switch things up just because. So okay, again, ideal situation with him. You have to get entirely on his wavelength. You get drunk and you have sex in the back of a stolen sports car while the cops are still looking for you.
All right, 17 for you, Bob.
Gold Moon. Bored already. Can she fuck? Probably enough. Am I going to be able to get turned on enough to enjoy it? Probably not. The most interesting thing for me, she can play the lute. Okay. And that is not nearly enough. And I fucking love the lute.
17, Neal.
My number 17 is Fizban. I think as a date, Fizban would be a lot of fun. He has plenty of ridiculous tall tales and he can use his crotchety old man shtick to get the best table and the best service at the tavern. But when it comes to sexy times, well, it's probably going to go a little bit like this. Now how does this work again? Maybe this... Oh, sorry, that was the wrong hole. How about... Oh dear, you've gone all soft. Oh wait, I used to know a spell to fix that. How did it go again? And if you're really lucky, you'll manage to stop him before he casts the spell.
Oh no.
If not, well, maybe Theros Ironfeld can forge you some new junk.
Oh boy.
Oof.
Steel junk.
Oof.
Silver junk.
It's always hard. Never flaccid.
That's a secret, Cap.
I have silver junk.
All right. My number 17 is Riverwind. I just feel like he's the kind of macho religious dude who's done after 3 thrusts but still somehow thinks he made you see God. That's all I have to say about him. We're on to 18. Dan?
My number 18 is Gilthanis. I think in terms of pure skill, he probably deserves to be a lot higher on the list. But I think that, like, in the books, he comes across as pretty hot and cold in his affections. And it mostly comes down to, like, who you are and what you're doing and how that like fits into his like deep-seated elvish supremacist leanings. And so I think that like, you know, I think having a sexual encounter with him, it almost always ends with him finding some fault with me and my human body. And he forces me to leave out of disgust.
Oh.
So again, silver lining, the best possible scenario that I can imagine with him is that after he kicks you out, he later like comes to a realization and realizes how narrow-minded he's been and how truly in love with you he is, and at which point he searches the earth for you and begs you to take him back.
I don't know if I ranked him too high because he has the elven supremacist thing and I wasn't thinking about that, or too low because if he's fucking a human, he definitely has some shaming going on that can be manipulated.
So it's interesting that it kind of cuts both ways.
Yeah.
With Tanis and Gilthanis.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, Bob, who's your 18?
Sturm Brightblade.
Okay, poor Sturm.
Love a sad sack.
Yeah.
Love a sad sack. Don't love a noble sad sack. Like, noble sad sacks, not generally in touch with the inner boner. I can see it now. I'm going to be brought politely and nobly to a tidy orgasm before being genteelly fucked. Terrible. No.
Okay, Neal, who's your 18?
My number 18 is Verminard. Apparently, the dude is 7 feet tall and never takes off his dragon helmet, so he's got novelty going for him, if nothing else. I guess if, like Miles, you're into specific kind of roleplay where he's an evil warlord intent on conquering your ass, Verminard would butter your biscuit. I'm not saying no, but neither do I think I'll be going back for seconds.
Okay. My number 18 is Barum Everman. Now, normally in hard choices, being an immortal I have considered as a positive because you had a lot of experience, presumably. I don't think he's ever had sex before. I just can't imagine that character in all of his years ever having had sex before. And that chest gem is a fucking hazard. I'm sorry. I don't want fucking a hard crystal anywhere near me during sex, especially not the chest. Nah, go away. Fuck off, plot device. We're on to 19. We're approaching the abyss. We're probably somewhere in the gray wastes here. Dan, who's your 19?
So my 19 is Barum.
Okay.
I think you forget about the experience almost immediately. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be good. You just have like a 45-minute gap in your memory.
You're like him.
It's
when he dies.
Yeah, it's like sex with Barum is like an alien abduction. But you have to bring your own probe because he's definitely not into anything kinky. Okay, so again, best case scenario I could think of is maybe if you did it with him on that pirate ship that he served on for a bit, and that's not because he would suddenly come alive with carnal energy. It's just kind of cool to fuck on a pirate ship.
Location.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right, Bob, who's your 19?
Ooh. I'm gonna possibly destroy my brand and say Fizzban.
Wow.
Look, I'm super into a peepums. And I like a bad fuck. There's only so many times that I am prepared to have somebody sort of fumble the ball, especially if it's the seventh time. Where do you want me to come? Oh my God! Nowhere at this point. Never. Yeah, no, the night will be over.
All right. Neal, your 19.
My 19 is Dalamar Argent.
What? Explain.
Okay, so, on the one hand, yes, he is a dark elf, which is objectively the sexiest kind of elf. But although he's had several lovers in the books, I feel Dalamar sleeps with people because of what he thinks they can do for him. Like Kitiara and Jenna, who's the daughter of Justarius, head of the Conclave of Mages. So, I think if he thinks he can get something from you, he might be pretty good, but otherwise it's probably pretty perfunctory. Plus, he's got apparently those 5 oozing wounds on his chest. No, thank you.
I will have words later. My 19 is Astinus. Just completely emotionless academic sex. Dude is probably taking notes the whole time. If he's really into you, you might get him to smile during sex. That's all you're gonna get. It's I think comparing him to Destiny might be an insult to Destiny. It's fucking a 2x4. Dan, who's your number 20?
My number 20 is Raceland.
Okay.
He's bitter and sarcastic. He suffers from a superiority and inferiority complex. And every time he looks at you, he sees you as a withered corpse. The only possible way you could get a good fuck out of Raceland is if you were able to somehow convince him that by him giving you an orgasm, he would gain magical power like that unto the gods themselves. And at that point, he's number 1 on the list. But in any other circumstance, he's just not interested enough in either you or your own pleasure to, make for a good lover.
All right, I'm going to jump the order here for a second, because my number 20 is also Raceland. What? You would so I feel like there's 2 different scenarios when it comes to Raceland. Scenario number 1. You try to be gentle at first because he's so fragile, which would offend him. And then he'd be like, what, do you think I'm weak? Give me everything you've got, fool. And you're like, all right, I guess. And then you instantly break his hip. Because Raceland loves setting himself up for failure. It's his favorite thing. So the other
Bob is
option,
nodding enthusiastically.
the other option
yeah.
is that the sex would be better than that, but it would also turn out to be a ruse for him to use you in some ritual to make himself a god. Because while he is into you, he is not as into you as he is into power. Mm-hmm. So either way, I'm not here for it. Bob, you've spent the last 5 minutes looking horrified at Dan and I. Who's your number 20?
Gilthanis.
Okay.
You said no to a dragon. Oh, I see. You fuck like a filthy casual. You fuck like someone who only cares about what's easy and familiar. You fuck like someone who wants things to be the way you think they should be. You fuck like a spineless, pathetic coward. Disgusting.
Outstanding.
All right. Neil, who's your 20?
My number 20 is Caramon. With
Wow.
What? Okay, with Caramon, you might get the handsome hero who is super devoted to his brother, or you might get the drunken slob who is sad about his brother. The former is probably coasting on his heroic reputation, so all you get is a couple of thrusts and grunts, then snoring on a wet patch to sleep in. With the latter, you get a night of tears and brewer's droop. Hard pass.
Brewer's droop. Is that what is that?
That's
is that
yeah.
a
That's
term?
what when you.
No, I know what it is. I
Yeah.
can infer, but
No,
I've heard whiskey dick.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, he drinks ale rather.
Fair
than
enough.
whiskey, so-
It's fair. All right. With that having been said, it is time to unveil everyone's number 21. So Dan, this is the bottom of the list. We're in the abyss. Who is your 21?
Appropriately enough, Lord Soth.
Okay.
Cold hands and feet. No, thank you. Best case scenario for him is that he does to you what he planned to do to Lorana and turns you into an undead first, so at least you don't have to feel the cold. That's it.
I'm gonna jump the order again. Oh, all right, that looks like
Yep.
Neil's gonna jump the order first. Go ahead, Neil.
Number 21 is also Lord Soth. So, unless you have a magical bracelet, his touch means instant death.
Right.
And he's followed around by a trio of elven banshees who serenade him to sleep every night. He would have to be super good in bed to make up for that. And while I'm just as goth as the next podcaster, I just don't think he's worth it.
Yeah, my 21, as I'm sure listeners have inferred, is also Lord Soth. I was writing up my write-up for Raceland, which I don't remember if I did the official Big Feels, but it was supposed to be a Big Feels. And I was like, well, nobody's going below him. And then I remembered Lord Soth exists. And it's like, what is the sex like? Well, the sex is like you die instantly, and then he takes your soul, and then you have to deal with this jealous, overbearing motherfucker literally forever. Like, he is the worst to his romantic partners in particular. He is the worst kind of dude. Like, no. Just no. Away. It's gonna be like number 1 for Bob. Bob, I'm assuming your 21 is not Lord Soth.
No. It's Barum Everman. Just big Gollum meets the guy from Flowers in the Attic vibes. And you're all gonna be shocked to find that sometimes that does not turn me on. This man is made of bad decisions. Again, shocked that that's not always a turn on. The problem is these are not deep, interesting, character-driven bad decisions. These are just plot-relevant bad decisions.
Yeah.
And also, this is probably going to end in my death, and it's not even going to be a cool death. It's just going to be a sad, shitty, pathetic death.
Knock your head on a column or something.
Yeah, no thanks.
All right. Whew. That was some very abyssy feels there at the end. I very much felt the touch of the Dark Queen on my soul. Let's
Or your cock.
or my cock, which is better. Let's go ahead and bring the mood up a little bit here. Let's go back up to the top. We're going to go back up through our top 10, and we're going to start with Dan, who is your number 10.
My number 10 is Cristania Tyrrhenius.
Okay.
And the quality here doesn't come from sexual prowess, which I think is maybe a bit below average, if I'm being totally honest. But it comes from the situation, right? Like, she does get romantically linked to a few characters throughout the series, but it's always in these really heightened emotionally charged situations, right? Like, it's Raceland when she's attracted to his power and wants to bring him over to be a good guy. It's Caramon or Valen when they're on this, like, epic quest. I imagine she had, like, more than one encounter with a fellow cleric at the monastery after lights out. So, like, the worst thing that you could have happen with her is a bog standard hookup at a bar or something like that, right? Like she's the sort of person who's drawn to drama. And I think that if you can find yourself in like an even somewhat dramatic, like heightened situation, I think that that's like, you're going to find that she's very interesting sexually.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Bob, who's your number 10?
Riverwind. The commitment. God damn. When he wants that pussy, he will not stop until he gets it. You ever met somebody who went on a dangerous fucking quest to get into your pants? Yeah, neither have I. But can you, the sheer anticipation, the ego stroke of being worth that to someone, it's got to give the sex a certain flavor.
Okay.
Also, for him, like, the permission to finally, like, have you after being denied. Like, the inn is going to need to replace a headboard. This is, come on.
Kind of selling me on it, to be honest. All right.
Hey,
Yeah.
I flew through DFW multiple times.
And O'Hare.
Jesus, don't remind me.
All right, Neal. Who's your number 10?
My number 10 is Flint Fireforge. As a dwarf, Flint is short and stubborn, and it's mainly that stubbornness, along with his pride as a master craftsman, that make him so good in bed. He'll give you one of the best sexual experiences you've ever had out of sheer obduracy. The only problem is, all his best cock rings, butt plugs, and other toys have mysteriously disappeared since the last time Tasselhoff visited.
My number 10 is Tika. It's going to be that good working class sex. I don't think she's super experienced, but I think she makes up for that in Moxie and the fact that she just straddled you on the bar before she even finished wiping it down. Dan, who is your number 9?
My number 9 is Alhana Starbreeze.
Okay.
I've already talked about one of the book's many racist elves who look down at humans, and Gilthanas did not do well on my list. The reason that Alhana does significantly better is that the love of her life is Sturm Brightblade, the character who's so human that his humanity, like, overflowed his physical form out through his face and formed a giant mustache.
Is that what happened?
That's what happened. Read the books, man.
Yeah.
I was quoting Margaret Weiss.
Admittedly, it's been a while.
I think Alhana has a human fetish. And, I've never really been the focus of a fetish before. At least not that I'm aware of.
All right, Dan, we'll talk after.
All right, cool. And, I don't think I would enjoy being the focus of a fetish if that's, like, all I ever got from everyone.
All right, well, maybe we won't talk
But,
after.
okay.
Yeah.
But, this one time, yeah. Like, I'll see what it's like to have an ice queen objectify me.
I'm going to skip the order because my number 9 is also Alana Starbreeze. I think unlike most of the royals on this list, Alana was not pampered as a child. She was treated very severely. And I think the reason she fell in love with Sturm is because he was just, like, nice to her. And I think if you're just nice and treat her as like a person, you'll get a fucking good time out of Alana Starbreeze.
Okay. All right. Bob, who's your 9?
Tika.
Hell yeah.
She's gonna wink at me. Yeah, she also, I get big, like, ass slapping energy off of her. 100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
She's gonna be fun, joyful, flirty. Like, you're never gonna wonder how she feels about whatever's happening. And at least once, mid-fuck, she is going to throw her head back with laughter, and you are going to fall completely in love with her.
Love it.
That's great.
What's she laughing at?
How happy she is that you're fucking her.
There you go.
Right.
My number 9 is Fizzband. So,
Well, go on.
would it be good? I don't know. I have no concept of how Fizzband fucks. The idea is completely alien to me, but would it be memorable? Yeah, man. There's like at least a 30% chance the sex ends up happening on like another world or like in the Death Gate cycle, which is a whole other series by Weiss and Hickman where the motherfucker shows up. So like, I can't, I'm being the Bob apparently in this one. I can't resist it's the unknown. I want to know what it's like.
That's beautiful.
I'm so proud of you.
Dan, who's your number 8?
My number 8 is Riverwind.
All right.
I initially put him pretty low on this list because I was remembering how like boring and stoic he is in like in the Chronicles trilogy. But again, the entire concept of hard choices is like this person is into you. And Riverwind is really only like boring and stoic when he's around people that he doesn't trust. And that's like the majority of people. But if he's into you, I think he actually opens up. I think that he, and we do see him open up in some of the stories, and we see that he's generous, he's caring, he's open-minded, he's like willing to try new things. I don't think he'll be like terrifically exciting, but like I think that, given that we've managed to attract his interest, like I think he's gonna be pretty good.
Okay. All right. Bob, who's your 8?
Lord Soth.
All right, well.
I'm here for it. Like, keep the clothes on, please. But I don't mind this gothy hate fuck. Unlike these other people here at the table, I'm not a coward. Like, that's right. Like, fuck me like you're mad at the world. Like, fuck me like you're mad at all the decisions you've made. You're mad at me. Okay, fine. I'm not a licensed counselor, but I'm so invested in you working out your issues on me.
All right, Neal, assuming your number 8 is not Lord Soth.
No, my number 8 is Lorana. I think she's very charismatic and she's a great leader, so she'll make you feel real good about yourself. I don't think she's got a lot of experience. I think she'll be pretty willing and enthusiastic, and while that's not nothing, I don't think it's not quite good enough for a top 5 place on my list.
Okay, all right. My number 8 is Flint Fireforge. I don't think he's grumpy by nature. I think that's a show he puts onto the world. I think deep down inside he's a softie. I think if you get him in bed, he would be like maybe a little bit hesitant at first because he hasn't done this in a while, but then the old moves start coming back, baby. And let me tell you something about Flint Fireforge. That motherfucker can whittle. And those hand motions are going to be fucking valuable, baby. I think y'all are fucking missing the trick here with Flint. Get him into my bed pronto.
That's great, Miles.
All right. Dan, who's your number 7?
Big feels. Lorana. The perils of being a straight guy and hard choices. The description that the book gives to Lorana when we first see her not only emphasizes that she's beautiful, but the very specific ways in which she is beautiful. And that has cemented her in my head as so unthinkably gorgeous that my brain kind of short circuits when I try to objectively evaluate her for this list.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
So eventually,
we'll get to it.
Eventually, as I was constructing my hypothetical fuck scenario, I just put a paper bag over her head. And that kind of, that got me. I was like, okay, I can think about this a little more clearly now. So, what kind of lover do I think she is? It really depends on her character arc, on when in her character arc you meet her, right? Because her in Dragons of Autumn Twilight is, this spoiled, entitled, naive elvish princess. But critically, she impulsively chases Tanis all across the world because she's just that into him. And so we can see, she's willing to take these big swings for her partner, even ones that are, pretty ill-advised. But I think the ideal Lorana is the one that you see towards the end of the War of the Lance, where she's led armies, she's suffered real loss. I think that real world experience is going to remove the naivete and the spoiled nature, and it'll temper her youthful passion without extinguishing it. I get real Furiosa vibes off of late stage Lorana, and that's never a bad thing.
All right, fair enough. Bob, who is your number 7?
Alana Starbreeze. No. Okay, it's crucial for me that she has to be in this marriage, and it has to be at the point whenever it is this cold, distant political marriage. Yes, I know. Girl, it's gonna be a fucking powder keg. You give her one heated look at the party, she's in. She is just, Neal pointed out, she hasn't been treated nicely. I can treat her nicely. I can pay attention to her. She's going to come alive. And then also combine that with all these messy feelings about this political marriage that she's in and all these expectations. Fuck. Oh my God.
You're saying she's the main character of Zandali?
She kind of is. She's going to fuck you like every single time could be the last time because she might have to go like, no, I can't anymore. Like, really, I do have to stop. And you're like, okay, but you don't have to stop. And she's like, no, I do have to. Oh, no, it's like, forget skill. You cannot teach hunger.
I love these episodes because I always get new perspectives on characters that I would never have considered. All right, Neal, who's your number 7?
My number 7 is Tanis.
All right. Highest ranking for him.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody looks up to him, and he's a bowman, so he's probably really good with his fingers. Also, when he meets Kitiara in Flotsam, her first thought is to drag him to bed for a couple of days, so he must have some moves.
On that note, my number 7 is Kitiara. So yeah, she is dominant, she is demanding, she's manipulative. Basically, my thing about Kitiara is, you better fucking do a good job. You better, if you want her best, you better step up. So like, we got a low floor here, which is the low floor is you don't do your job well, and she like locks you up or feeds you to a dragon or something. But a very, very high ceiling. If you can fucking rise to the task, then Kitiara is gonna give you the fuck of a lifetime, man.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, who's your number 6?
My number 6 is Dalamar Argent.
All right.
Yes, the dude radiates wannabe edgelord energy. But, hear me out. So the Sylvanesti elves branded him a dark elf because he was using all sorts of, like, weird and forbidden magic. We all know the elves in Dragonlance are just big old sticks in the mud.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the bold stance that at least a few of those spells that he was banished for using were sexual. You got Big B's stroking hand. You've got Tasha's uncontrollable squirting.
It's just an excuse for you to make sex puns out of D&D.
You've got Stone Skin, but specifically for the penis. So I think you're going to have a good time with Dalamar.
Oh my god.
That's a powerful argument. Bob, who's your number 6?
Oh, I don't have an argument. Tasselhoff. I think it's going to be amazing. I don't know why. I think it's going to be effortlessly amazing, and he will have no idea why. You're going to come so hard you black out. You come to and say, what the fuck was that? And he just looks clueless and says, that's sex? That's what it's always like? I hate it. I hate it so much, but I think it's true.
Okay. Neal, who's your number 6?
My number 6 is Barum. Barum's deal is...
Wow!
Yeah, no, hear me out. His deal that he's spent 200 years trying to escape from his past. You can't tell me that he didn't at some point shack up with an assortment of lovers of various genders and species, a keg of ale, a couple of bottles of dwarf spirits, and an enchanted music box that plays the Krynnish equivalent of Peach's Fuck the Pain Away to try to do just that. Plus, when the companions first meet him, he's the helmsman for the Perichon, a pirate ship, and pirates are super hot again thanks to Taika Waititi.
Neal, they've always been hot. Come on.
I know.
But now they're even hotter.
I give you Johnny Depp.
Ooh.
Boy, that did set us back.
All right, my number 6 is Lorana. Similar to Dan, perils of being a straight dude who read Dragonlance as a teenager. I was originally going to rank her a little bit lower because I felt like she was kind of like a, as opposed to Kitiara, she's kind of like a high floor, low ceiling kind of person. But, because like she's very loyal, she's a good person. She probably starts off pretty basic in bed. But the thing about Lorana is that she always rises to a challenge. So, like, you might fuck her once and, like, not have your mind blown. And then she's like, oh, fuck that shit. Let's do it one more time. I'll show you what I'm all about. And then she almost cracks the top 5.
Dang.
Speaking of the top 5, we've now reached it. So these are the 5 top-notch characters on everyone's list. Dan, where do we start with your number 5?
We're starting with Silvara.
Okay.
And I have no justification for this. I just think fucking a hot silver-haired elf who's secretly a dragon would be amazing. And you can throw me in hard choices jail if you must. I regret nothing.
Now, see, this is why Dan and I aren't allowed to be on episodes together. I have 5. My 5 is also Silvara for the same reason. All I have written down is she's a dragon. It would be incredible. I rest my case.
Fair.
So sometimes you can give yourself a treat.
Yeah.
Hey,
I've been good.
yeah. You know what? You both have been extremely good as the, non-binary parent of the show. You can have this. This is fine.
Thank you. Bob, what are you going to have at number 5?
Big feels. Caramon Majere.
Nice.
I don't know Caramon super well. What I know is how fandom treats a character. I went to Tumblr and found incorrect Dragonlance quotes.tumblr.com. Quote, Caramon, can I ask a dumb question? Raceland, better than anyone I know.
That's not an incorrect. That's totally Kanan.
He's a himbo who loves his brother and he loves the people he's with. He throws himself into what's important to him. Like, when it comes to sex and love, that is everything. You want someone who recognizes what they have and is not playing it cool. Do you want someone that makes that, like, knowing grin as they caress you and that face that's like, oh, I know exactly how you're going to respond? Or do you want somebody who's going to do, like, that enormous smile and just say, I want you to make those noises every day for the rest of our lives? Like, he's not even a forever wow boobs. He's a forever, hell yeah, I love your boobs. Perfection. Unimpeachable.
All right, Neal, who is your number 5?
My number 5 is Tika. As a barmaid in Solace, where all the houses are built in trees, Tika is very fit and has great stamina. She knows how to fend off unwelcome advances, where to kick or swing a heavy ladle to dissuade unwanted suitors while carrying a huge tray of mugs and plates of Otik's famous spiced potatoes, TM. But with that much hard work in her life, she must know how to blow off some steam. Plus, I bet she's nice enough to tell Caramon that of course that's an above average length, that 30 seconds is a normal length of time.
Wow. Wasn't enough for you to put him at 20.
Certainly no, I do not like him.
Aww.
I was surprised to discover how much I dislike him.
Yeah, I like Caramon. Anyway, all right, I think we're at number 4. So, Dan, who is your number 4?
My number 4 is Lord Verminard.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, good.
Fuck yes.
There is something about having a powerful and dominating, like, dangerous overlord just openly desire you, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's Tormund Giantsbane levels of sexually confident and adept, but, like, I feel like he'd be experienced and confident. He probably has a lot of, like, bearskin rugs that you can fuck on.
Oh, so many.
Bob, who is your 4?
Raceland. He's so cranky. He's so cranky and he hates everyone and he doesn't want to be here and he's not even sure if he wants me to be here. Gimme. Like, the fuck I care about the sex. Like, the sex is just like one dimension of this interaction. This is building trust with the person who doesn't like people. Once he lets you in, it's a good shit. I don't know what's in there, but I bet it's wounded, and I bet it's gonna hiss if I try to hug it. And I'm gonna fucking try to hug it.
I'm legit surprised he's not number 1 for you.
Oh, Raceland's gonna hate me and love me, and it's gonna be amazing.
All right, Neal, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Crysania. So she has her flaws. She has a weakness for powerful men and a lot of pride in her own power as a cleric. But I think she's also a very kind and empathetic woman, which I think would make her a really good lover. And I mean lover. Unlike most of the rest of this list, I don't think you're going to just fuck Crysania. I think sleeping with her is going to be fulfilling for your mind, body, and soul, which is possibly the cheesiest thing anybody's ever said on this podcast.
Aww, I like it though.
Yeah, I just think she's sweet. I just think she's neat.
She's number 4, though.
She's like a potato.
Yeah, well,
It's true. No, I get you.
yeah.
Look, the wonderful, like, kind of pathetic fuckle that goes so high.
It true. Wait, yeah, my list is always proof of that.
All right, my number 4 is Dalamar. In a weird way, similar to Lorana, I have, like, memories of reading Legends as a kid and being like, perhaps not all the way straight. He's super hot. He definitely fucks. He has magic powers. He's absolutely a switch. Just like,
Oh, yeah.
Unquestionably, depending on your mood, you can have him top or bottom as you desire. And I just, like, he's number 4.
Yeah.
He's Dalamar, man. He couldn't be any lower. He couldn't, I tried to put him lower. He wouldn't go down there. But he will go down there.
Yeah.
All right. We're in the top 3. Dan, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is Kitiara.
Okay.
And I think that there's a reason why pretty much anytime she like sets out to manipulate someone, she succeeds. And we see that like anyone who has slept with her is completely wrapped around her little finger. She has this kind of femdom energy that is catnip for me. The only reason I didn't put her at number 1 is because I feel like she just like guards her emotions and she tends to keep people at arm's length. Whereas like the people that I put above her are a lot more about cutting loose and being like genuine and sincere and actually having a good time. So as much as a sucker as I am for a bad girl, and I am a sucker for a bad girl, I do think that objectively speaking, people who are open and enthusiastic about sex are probably better at it.
Right. Man, this is all very wholesome. Bob, who's your number 3?
No, Flint. Flint Fireforge. Irritable daddy.
Right?
Like, I get to be the one well-behaved asterisk cute, fun person that makes daddy happy. Or failing that, like, at least, the one person that he's happy to see and he doesn't sigh heavily about. And being the bright spot for somebody who feels a ton of responsibility is like, that's really nice. And I just want to make daddy smile. He's so great. I love Flint Fireforge so much.
Now the question of who's going to drag us back into the dirt. Is it going to be Neal? Neal, you're number 3.
My number 3 is Raistlin.
So possibly.
Fuck it.
He's very driven, he's cunning, he's single-minded. He has an unexpectedly tender side, like when they meet the gully dwarves in the ruins of Zaktzaroth. He can be nice when he wants to be. He's inventive. He's got really nimble fingers from his time as a stage magician. With all those spell ingredients he carries around, he could probably whip up some lube with some interesting side effects. All that, and he's possibly the greatest mage who has ever lived and or a god. And who can say no to that?
My number 3 is a big feels, and Lord, did I not think I was going to have big feels about this character. But it's Krysania, and when I first started making this list, I was like, just going entirely by memory of Dragonlance, and she was low, right? Because, like, how much fun could it be to fuck the hyper-religious girl? How much fun is it really going to be to, like, fuck the nun, basically?
Fool.
Well, I was.
Do I have some videos to show you, Miles?
I started revisiting Legends, I kind of like looking at the books again and actually remembering the plot and the character arcs and everything. And what I hadn't remembered at first is that Krysania is the hyper-religious girl, but she's also extremely corruptible.
Yes.
Neal, you say you don't just fuck Krysania? Fuck that! I'm gonna fuck her all kinds of different ways. Because guess what? A, actually fucking the hyper-religious girl will be delicious if she's super into it, which she is. And B, when she is into someone, she does all kinds of crazy shit for them. As we know. Which means you are now fucking the hyper-religious girl who's like, you're taking the hyper-religious girl who was like saving herself for marriage, and you're getting her to do all kinds of weird, perverse shit. That is fucking awesome. Let's do it. Let's drag her into the mud, man. Come on. Let's go.
As the old saying goes, you either die a Tanis or live long enough to see yourself become a Kitiara.
Let's get to number 2. Dan?
My number 2 is Tika.
Okay.
I think that Tika's hidden strength as a lover is versatility and enthusiasm. If she's into you, she will be down for pretty much anything you want to do. You want to do, missionary at home on the bed? You want to do cowgirl on the shores of Crystalmere Lake? You want a 69 on the floor of the Inn of the Last Home minutes before the dinner rush starts? She will try anything once. She might maybe try it a few times if it doesn't work out 100% the first time. And, even if it's a complete disaster, she will never lose her winning attitude.
Number 2 for you, Bob. Go.
Big feels. Dalamar.
Yeah!
evil guy who sometimes helps the good guys climb aboard. Like, oh my god, my favorite flavor. Not necessarily changing side, but like he can choose to do things that are good. You know, like fucking you so good you think you're gonna die. Things like that. Oh, just like being the good guy to booty call the bad guy who sometimes does nice things. The guy who sometimes does nice things because you fuck so good he wants to keep in your good graces. Or no, this is better. This is even better than that. Okay. No. Stick with me. He booty calls you. Hey, you up? You want to come over? I don't know. You haven't been very good this week. Maybe not, but I'll be very good to you tonight. No, I think Caramon's still awake. I'll see what he's doing. Don't you dare fuck that oaf when you can have me. What do you want? Be good for 2 weeks? Fine. I'll be over in 10. Love you, babe. Winky, kissy face. Oh my god, no. This man is my dream.
This feels like a real interaction to me. Is this taken from real life?
Yeah, from all of Neal's crimes.
Oh, Neal's evil.
Yes.
Neal, who is your number 2?
Big feels.
Oh boy, here we go. Let's do it.
Astinus the Chronicler.
Yes!
Wow.
Yes!
Picture yourself in the city of Palantis, there to visit the Great Library. You're on a quest to find an ancient recipe for dwarf spirits, or a clue to the location of a city lost since the Cataclysm, or some other such heroic endeavor. You wander through the library, glancing at bound books, scrolls, even ancient tablets of bronze and clay, when you find yourself in a room with a desk at the center. At this desk is a stern but not unattractive middle-aged man who seems utterly consumed by whatever it is he's writing. Your curiosity piqued, you quietly tiptoe around the edge of the room, and then sneak up behind him to peek over his shoulder at the neat flowing script on the page in front of him. You read of a goblin chieftain slaying a noble knight in Salamnia, and a minotaur queen giving birth to a calf who will one day become a great hero. But then the narrative moves to the city of Palantis, describing the evening in glowing, almost romantic terms, in sharp contrast to the previously dry, more detached prose. The writing describes a handsome hero or heroine with your name, telling of your taut muscles and pert buttocks in glowing terms. And then the style moves from the romantic to the erotic, describing the writer's throbbing erection. At that point, you notice the quill has stopped moving and the writer is gazing at you, a hint of a smile on his mouth. Your eyes lock and the scholarly man rises to his feet and takes both your hands. Without exchanging any words, you can tell what Astinus the Chronicler is going to be writing about you next. A robed librarian rushes into the room. Master, what are you doing? Astinus' eyes lose their focus and flicker from side to side, and his lips move, as though he is reading a book that only he can see. Master? The librarian asks. Astinus, looking slightly flushed but also excited, clears his throat and says, Bertram, history can take care of itself for the next, at least several hours. Astinus is not only familiar with every encounter of Krynn's great lovers, but also with every sexual encounter you've ever had. So he definitely knows what's going to work for you. Astinus takes his job very seriously. So if he's going to set it aside for a few hours of boning down, he's going to make it count. And, as the human incarnation of the god Gillian, refractory period is just a collection of syllables to him.
Holy shit.
Wowzer.
I just came. How is that not number 1? Who's number 1?
We'll give it just a few minutes, man.
Fuck me. I feel like I've really done a horrible mistake.
You always sleeping on Astinus.
Oh. Wow. Alright, so my... I don't really know what to say after that. My number 2 is Gold Moon.
Oh, okay. That's fine too, Miles.
Oh. Alright. So, like, whatever, canonically, like, the most beautiful woman of the entire, like, series, whatever, that's fine. The point is that she's also, like Chrysania, hyper-religious, but in much more, like, feels like a much more pagan way and a much less Christian way, even though they technically worship the same gods. But that's not even the point. The point is, do you know what's even more fun than fucking the hyper-religious girl? Fucking the hyper-religious girl with healing powers. Yes, the sex would be fantastic, but more importantly, my back pain would be gone.
Welcome to middle age, Miles.
That's what I'm saying. I'm in my late 30s, man. This is what I want now. I want a fucking goddess and then not hurt after. All right. We've somehow not yet reached number 1.
Nope.
We are here now. So, Dan, lay it on us. Who's at the top of your list?
Caramon.
Okay.
He's kind, he's generous, he has a good sense of humor, and a ton of sexual experience. He's one of those characters who is both, like, who's naturally physically fit and good looking. So the skill, he hasn't, like, put any time in developing either of those skills. The skill that he's put the most effort into developing over his life is empathy and compassion. Because he is brothers with Raceland. Now, it rarely leads to him having a positive relationship with Raceland, but it does mean that he's attentive to whatever needs you might have. And as a side note, Caramon and Tika have the best sexual relationship out of any couple in fiction, and I will stand by that.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, that was a strong number 1. Bob, who's your number 1?
Astinus.
Oh my god.
So we can't have you two on the same list.
No, like, because I really did suspect, this is on the list specifically because I'm on the show, right? That's the reason.
No, it's because Neal was on the show.
You're on every show.
But this person who is like scrupulously neutral and careful, the person who's dedicated to their job, just like rigidly manages their role and their emotions in the name of efficiency, there is nothing like knowing that you are special enough to be worth someone putting down whatever the fuck it is they're supposed to be doing because they just cannot resist you for another fucking second. That is everything. Also, I want to fuck in a library, and he doesn't leave the library. So, 100% getting fucked amidst a pile of scrolls. The dream.
I really feel like a fool ranking him so low now, but I stand by my ranking.
I stand by my
ranking.
Neal wove a beautiful story, but I stand by my ranking.
All right, Neal. Who's your number 1?
My number
Who
one.
can top that?
Funny you should say that. My number 1, big feels. Kitiara.
Okay.
Kitiara is actually the reason I wanted to be on this episode, because when I was thinking about, like, who in fiction would I want to fuck, she just came to mind almost immediately. Of all the characters assembled here, she's the one who's most upfront about her sexuality. She fucks, and she does not apologize about it. She fucks because she enjoys it. At one point, she seduces and fucks Sturm, just because she could. The likes of Lorana or Goldmoon are probably objectively more beautiful than Kitiara, but to me, there's no one on the list who is hotter than Kitiara. She could top me and fuck me with a dragon-shaped strap-on, which is probably standard issue in her army, and I would love every fucking second of it.
Fantastic. I knew she'd be high for a lot of people. All right, I guess it's time for my number 1, and I make no apologies for this. My number 1 is Tasselhoff Burfoot.
Do it.
I'm sorry.
Miles, you should be. God bless, sir.
But motherfucker will do anything. He's gonna have a good time with anything. He's always in the mood. He's always ready to have fun. Does not have any insecurities to get in the way of good sex. Basically, the perfect fuck. Y'all are describing him as like somebody who's gonna get distracted easily. Like he sees a shiny object and immediately like flips over. No, that dude gets shit done. He just is really, really super curious about lots of different things and full of wonder about the world. Never, ever gets bored with shit. You want, like, a lasting fuck buddy? That dude is going to be there with you the whole time, and it's never going to get any worse. Plus, that fucking top knot, you can just pull it. I want to pull it!
He does have grabby hair. I 100% give you. I don't even remember that he had the top knot, but as soon as I read like that name, I was like, oh, he grabby hair boy.
Yeah. Whew, that was a journey. That was a whole fucking quest, you might say. The war is over, y'all. The gods of horniness and bad decisions have returned to the world. And I'm sure some of us feel like some others made some seriously ill-advised pacts with those particular gods here tonight. So, As Caramon probably should have said when Racing revealed that he was evil now, but he was still down to help his friends defeat the other evil, because then the other evil would be gone, and he would then be the most evil. Let's unpack that.
I'm shocked that any of you could put guilt on us, like, anywhere near that high, given that he's such a fucking coward. That he would turn away from something so hot. You're like, how can you even respect him enough to fuck him after that?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, because at his heart he's a racist, right? Like that's what his whole deal is. Because you and I ranked him the lowest, Bob. You put him at 20, and I put him at 18. Yeah. And it's like, you would think that even the most racist person would make an exception if their girlfriend turned out to be a dragon, right?
Well, like a hot fucking
yeah.
And this book is full of racists. This series has a lot of fucking weird, like, yeah, we don't like those elves. We don't like those humans. Right. Yeah, there's a lot of that. But, yeah, God, how can you... What is here that is worth fucking a coward?
He's a basic fuckboy. It's just gonna be fun. It's like why you read a dumb romance novel.
But they're fun fuckboys. He's a shit fuckboy.
I mean, you just have to, like, pretend you're an elf.
Is he fun, though? I feel like he's just such a... I don't know. He strikes me as such a piece of shit. Like, legit, my only defense is that he's so fucking boring that I did not remember enough about him. He's just... like I guess... The word racist didn't cross my mind because I was attempting to remember, like, what he was like, and my mind glazed over. So... speaking of people who causes my mind to glaze over, Neal... Could you perhaps describe to me the amazing sexual encounter that led you to put Barum Everman at number 6 on your list?
He's going to tie you to the helm, spin it around, and stick his dick into whatever hole is nearest.
Will he? He's not, though. I don't think he will.
In my rating, he is. He's been dicking around for 200 years trying to forget his tragic past.
So what you're saying is, like, from your perspective, the Jedi are evil.
From a certain point of view.
All right, I'm just looking at these lists real quick, and there's a real disconnect for me here, Bob. Because you got Lord Verminard down here at number 14.
I know.
And you got Lord Soth up at number 8. And again, I just want to emphasize, if you have sex with Lord Soth, you will die.
You know, I think it was that Soth had, like, legit goth cred and Verminard does not.
Oh, you think he's like a fucking... You think he's a pretender? You think he's a...
No. I think he's just not innately as hardcore. It's not... There's nothing wrong with him. He's just... also alive, you know.
You can't accuse Lord Soth of not being hardcore, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's not. It has nothing to do with the fact that Verminard isn't super fuckable, because he 100% is very fuckable. And he really should be higher on the list. But I was trying to think about, like, do I have to balance for my predilection for, like, shitty men. Because, boy, do I have, shocking. I'm sure everybody listening at home is like, you? Shitty garbage men? No, I shouldn't say. People who do, like, work with trash are amazing. These people are actual, literal trash. Yeah, I think it was that the thing about him sort of being betrayed by the Dark Mistress was tempting to me, but not as tempting as the fact that I think Soth is just, like, so in his misery, and like that's all he's about. Whereas I think Verminard's like, I don't know, there's some brightness there. There's some things there. I'm like, no, you're not broken enough.
Right. It's just it's Verminard. He's Verminard, but more so is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's nearing edgelord. He's just kind of like, near the edgelord.
You have only tasted the edgelord. I was born and then raised in it.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Bob, I would like to ask you a question. So as I was putting this list together, the first time I came across Fizban, I was like, oh, this is easy top 5 for Bob. And then he shows up at number 19. Now, I think you sort of like talked about what your issues were, and I think that they're, frankly disappointing, but well thought out at the very least. I would like to try a little experiment.
Okay.
All right, picture Fizban in your head, right?
Okay.
You have this old man. Mm-hmm. He's got, like, mysterious magical powers.
Yes, it's Sylvester McCoy, in case you're wondering.
Okay, great, thank you. Sylvester McCoy, magical Sylvester McCoy. He's clumsy and accident prone. But instead of being goofy about it, he's cranky about it. Higher or lower on the list?
Ooh, a little bit higher.
Just a little bit. Because
Okay.
I feel like with you, it's peepums, it's cum in your eye,
Yes.
and it's crankiness.
Yes.
Like I feel like those are three of your pillars.
Long-time listeners of the show just like nodding.
Yeah, that's right.
Hold on, let me...
So what else needs to get added to like push this character over the top for you, or subtract it? I guess in some cases.
I think there needs to be some kind of innate horniness. If there's not an innate like kernel of fuck energy that I can draw upon, then like if he's trying to fuck me and it's going wrong and he's like mad about it, then it's like, oh, that's horny, that's hot. But if he's just like fucking it up and he's like, oh, I'm just mad that it's like going wrong, but it's like not because it's sex, then I'm like, oh, you're not really super invested. So it's like,
So it's that you want him to try and fail? Is that?
no, I mean, if he's always gonna fuck up, because that's like part of the thing, I can accept that. Like, I'm not gonna make him be competent.
Yeah.
But he does have to be invested in like fucking. And he doesn't seem to have a lot of that going on.
Okay, interesting. We'll have to continue these alchemical experiments as we go.
Do you get a lot of like horny energy off of Fizban?
I really don't, and that's like part of the problem I had with him in particular was because I mentioned when I was talking about him, like I could have rolled a d20 and just put him at that spot on the list and it would have felt fine because like because he's like a weird black box in terms of his like psychology, his motivation and everything. And so, I was like, but he's into me, right? So like, this is a thing that he at least kind of wants to do, right? Like we're approaching this as like consenting adults. So if he's said yes already, then I guess he's into sex, like.
That's still different than being horny about something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Well, it's like, do you take Fizban at face value? Are you looking at him like, okay, the character, like the bumbling idiot that shows up every once in a while in the books, is that the person you're fucking?
Yeah.
Or you're fucking like the character, like fucking Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman's weird spirit animal that shows up in all their books and like could be anything at any time. I think what's missing, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, I think that like if there was more emphasis on the unknown and the mystery, then maybe there would be more if you weren't a little bit if you weren't focused on what you're actually getting in the text.
I think that would help, but I would still need there to be some underlying sense of this person is hungry for it in some way. There can be just a really intense emotion at the core of it, and I can kind of transmute that into fuck energy. Like I can do that calculus. Okay. But if there's not that, then and there's no like just pure fuck energy going on, then what am I working with? Very little. And so I'm going, okay, well, I have a guy who's clumsy and is like down to fuck, not super committed, but is like doing his best.
Yeah, I definitely I have one for Neal. So yeah, the two of you are the ones that ranked Raceland high. And I know why Bob ranked him high. I was expecting Bob to rank him high. Bob literally said the words, "the fuck I care about the sex." Like, Bob threw out the entire premise of the show upon witnessing Raceland and was like, "No, wounded boy, give me." Bob's going to end up blind in the abyss. Like, that's just their fate. But you, however, you were kind of arguing about sort of the moral core of Raceland, talking about some sort of like his early adventures with the Gully Dwarves and shit. I'm just wondering, like, do you, as he goes on, and as we get into Legends, and he's like going back in time to kill and absorb the life force of the most evil wizard on the planet so that he can literally become the god of darkness.
Delicious.
Does he get less appealing to you?
I mean, no, because at the end of Legends, he, like, fucking saves the day and stops the Dark Queen from coming back again. I think...
But until then...
I mean, I think he is going after the Dark Queen because I think he sees that as a more attainable target. He sees that as his path to power. And he's very single-minded about it. That's his goal. He is making this plan to get to the goal.
So if you replace...
I'm translating that to, like, he wants to fuck you.
Right.
He wants to fuck you good.
Right.
He is going to make a plan in his mind to fuck you good. And he's really, really fucking good at this shit.
So you're saying replace become a god with give you an orgasm, and you've got
Exactly.
To okay,
I mean,
okay.
The thing about
Am
that
I
is-
wrong here?
Well, so the thing about that is, and I mentioned this in my write-up about Raceland, like, I think the only way you would get to the point where he would have that level of commitment to your sexual gratification is if he believed he was going to get godlike power out of it. Like, I think that he has that level of motivation and single-mindedness only when it comes to the pursuit of power. I don't really see him exercising that same level of, like, willpower and commitment in other areas of his life. Certainly not in his own interpersonal relationships. You know, I just don't think that he's like. I don't think that you would necessarily get that clear of a translation.
Have I shown you my Spunk Kills Dark Gods t-shirt?
Spunk kills dark gods? No, you have not.
Oh, well.
Interesting way to answer a question with another question.
I'm just gonna charm the shit out of Raceland. He's
Bob,
gonna...
I know why you like him.
I know, but I'm like, but there has to be a way, guys. That tell me can I Care Bear stare him into submission?
Yes, you are not the first person to think this. The other one was blind now.
I am so much more powerful than she is.
Oh, man.
So, Bob, you dragged Gilthanas over the coals for how he treated Silvara, and yet your sexy dragon girl was only at number 12.
I know. Because, I mean, like, she's a monster, and she's got some feelings about it, but she's also, like, she's kind of a really pretty monster. I don't know. It doesn't do as much for me as, like, cryptids do.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Your entire argument about why you don't like Gilthanas is because he rejected the dragon, and yet you yourself...
No. Bob's
No.
argument was that Gilthanas is a coward for rejecting Silvara. Bob just thinks Silvara's fine.
No,
Bob would fuck her. And
Yeah.
Bob would be fine with it. Sorry, not to put words in her mouth.
No, I 100% would. I don't get the sense that, like, the fuck would be amazing. I don't get the sense that she's, like, crazy thirsty or anything. Or that, you know, I'm going to blow her mind, or that she's going to blow my mind necessarily. I don't, am I, what?
She's a dragon is my only thing. Again.
No, she
To
is.
fall back on my only argument.
She 100% is a dragon. Do you have thoughts about how that translates sexually?
She's a dragon.
Okay.
Maybe
okay.
you're a Volkswagen Beetle.
So you
I have nothing to say to that.
You haven't seen that GIF, huh?
The internet believes that dragons like having sex with cars.
What?
I am apparently uncultured.
Oh, don't worry.
Buddy, I wish I were as uncultured as you. I don't need that in my head.
I guess I don't know. I guess I just don't think that she also lacks the fundamental, like, horniness or the willingness to be super manipulative or something that gives her, like, you know, an in to having, like, a really defined sexuality.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. It all hinges on the proposition that her being a dragon is not enough, and I just don't understand this. I can't go there with you.
You know, it's interesting. If I'm trying to gender swap it and see, like, would that fix it for me? Would that, like, change it? I mean, slight, like, maybe I would get, like, a bump of one place, maybe. Yeah, no, you gotta be super fucked up, or you gotta be horny.
Okay.
Preferably both.
The only other thing I had for Dan is that I just wanted to know more about Caravan and Tika. Why is their relationship so special?
I just think that, like, the two of them they're so kind, they're so open, they're adventurous, they're creative, they're passionate, and, like, and they're crazy about each other. I'm just like, that's what you want, right? Like all those characteristics mixed together, and then just, like, with the horniness cranked up, which for them I really feel like it is.
Yeah.
It's like those two are having the most amazing sex anyone has ever had multiple times a night. Like that's just I just can't not look at that and see that.
All right.
They're not a very popular pairing on AO3.
I think that's because they're a canon couple.
Yeah.
And so they're having sex.
Yeah, what's there to write about?
Yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
You're not creating anything new,
This is true.
So,
this is true.
Yeah.
I just think she put in a lot of work for that dude, and I don't know if I want to put in that much work for him.
For Caramon?
Yeah.
Man, I would. Tell you what.
The rewards. Once you teach him, he stays taught.
Hold me in those big strong arms afterwards.
Oh, here, have a red robe and some gold face paint down.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
you go.
All right, well, you've clearly been to some certain corners of it.
It is now time to reveal the final list, the final draft. What exactly is getting written on the discs of Sex for All?
Jeez. Miles.
And will be left behind for future generations to discover. Dan, you want to lay it on us?
Astinus must have been baked when he named those ones.
Let's get it.
All right, so this list, interestingly, the numbers are very close to the middle in a lot of these, which I take it to mean we had people, there's a lot of characters on this list with very high rankings and very low rankings and very middling rankings. So, more than a lot of other episodes I've seen, this one is a little, Rorschach testy. It's a lot about kind of what you bring to this character, what your interpretation of them is, and what about that appeals to you or doesn't. So
Because they're D&D characters, they're blank fucking slates.
I mean, they are, but I also feel like there's some characterization that's been given to them. They start as D&D characters. Anyway, so we have, as always, as most of the time happens, we have some ties. So that means we only have 17 slots on this list. So at the bottom, number 17, Lord Soth, as is only right and good.
Appropriate.
I might add, keep those hands and feet away from me. Next on the list at number 16 is Baron Everman, again, as is right and good.
Okay. All right.
Next up, at number 15 is Gilthanis. Mm-hmm. Next is, at number 14, is Sturm Brightblade. Mm-hmm. At number 13 is Fizban.
Okay.
At number 12 is the hero of the Lance, Tanis Half-Elven. Sorry, bud.
Yeah. That's
Sorry,
about where
bud,
you
but
go.
it's only what you deserve.
That's about where you go.
Number 11 is Lord Verminard. Mm-hmm. Number 10 is a three-way tie between Goldmoon, Riverwind, and Raistlin.
Wow. Interesting.
So, I don't know what to think about that one.
Those are all characters that got really high rankings from some, I feel like, and really low rankings from others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Number 9, speaking of characters that got some high rankings and some low ones, number 9 is Tasselhoff.
Yeah.
At a tie for 8, we have Alhana Starbreeze and Astinus the Chronicler.
It's a hell of a pair.
At number 7, we have Caramon. In a tie for 6, we have Lorana and Flint. How did that happen?
Both love tennis.
Oh, man. All right. Maybe my math is wrong. I don't know. Okay. Number 5 is Silvara.
Nice.
At number 4 is Dalamar. At number 3, shockingly high from my perspective, is Chrysania. At number 2 is Tika.
Yeah.
And number 1, as I think we kind of all knew, is Kitiara.
I was kind of pretty much expecting that.
And I'm positive my math is wrong, because there is no possible way that our median is Tasselhoff Perfect. But he is.
Oh dear.
Yes!
Oh, that's very pleasing.
That is the most appropriate thing ever.
Is it?
Yes!
Oh, man. I regret to inform you this entire show was a mistake.
Right, we already knew that.
My entire podcasting career has been a mistake. But that's how it is. That's the list. Great. We all have to live with it. Me most of all.
All right. Well, now that we've all gone ahead and fucked the major heroes and villains of Krynn and shared the gritty details with one another, it's time to talk about Krynn as a whole. How fuckable is the world of Dragonlance? Dan, what do you think?
Man. This is... Okay, I'm going to say this is an 8 for me, and it's a very high 8. It's like very nearly a 9. I just think that like all of these characters have something kind of interesting about them, and I feel like in the books we tend to see them on these like grand quests or these like personal sort of vendettas, or they're not often having sex, but I think that they're written and portrayed in a way where you see this like undercurrent of passion about them. And I think that like once you get them to let down their guard, take their eyes off the road for a second and kind of sublimate that passion into something a bit more procreative, I think you're going to have a real good time with them. Like I don't get down to my, no, I don't want to fuck this person until quite low on my list. Significantly lower than is normal for me on this show.
All right. Bob, what about you?
I think probably a 6. Only because it's not that I had a lot of no's so much as I didn't have, my yeses weren't like, yes! I had only a handful of like screaming yeses. And normally, obviously for me, I generally have a lot of those.
Yeah.
And so I just have to kind of, I feel bad because I know this is like, there's probably a lot here, and if I had read this as a child, I would feel extremely differently about this. But I didn't, and so I'm coming at this as an adult going like, I super want to fuck like 7 of them. And the rest I'm kind of like, yeah, I would fuck. So, yeah, it's a 6. I apologize. Tracy Hickman and Margaret Weiss. Your world's probably hella fuckable, and I just read it the wrong time.
All right, Neal?
I'm also going to give it an 8. It's probably also quite a high 8. I think pretty much all of my top 10, I would be enthusiastically, yes, please. And then a good deal of the bottom 10, I would be, sure, why not? It'll be fun. There's only maybe 3 or 4 outright no's in the entire list, so I think that's a good result. I think it's a pretty fuckable universe.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 outright no's for me. Like, it's basically Raceland and Soth, and that's it. I would have had Astinus there, but I don't fucking have him there anymore, so...
You're welcome.
I think I'm going to go 8 as well. The way I was thinking about this, and the thing about Dragonlance, especially the ones that we're choosing to cover, is that for me, there's such a strong difference between the 2 trilogies. Because, like, Chronicles is like a 5. Like, Chronicles is not great, y'all. Like, this really, like, a long, winding, meandering D&D campaign. And it's got, like, some sex, like, kind of clumsily shoved into it. But I don't really feel like there's a lot of chemistry between many people in Chronicles. It really feels like a lot of people just kind of get paired off because they know they have to pair people off. Legends is fucking 10.
Yeah.
Legends is so fucking hot. Legends has Chrysania and Raceland and Caravan and Dalamar and Kitiara, and it's like Legends is everything. And so like the 2 of them combined, I think even out to about an 8. And again, just looking at the list, it's like, I mean, I can even be talked into Raceland at a certain point in the books. So really, it's just Soth.
Yeah. All right, well, that gives us a final average boner rating, because this is the thing that I do on this show.
Oh, okay.
7.5 boners out of 10.
Excellent.
An extremely respectable showing for Dragonlance.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, as we prepare to turn the final page on this chapter of the Tale of Lance, there's one question we still have to ask ourselves. What did we learn today? It's a good question in this case.
Yeah.
I learned that Neal's a genius. That
Yeah.
fucking Astinus thing? Oh my god. Oh my... Babe. Heroic.
Thank you.
Very good.
Oh my.
Very good.
Also, you really sold me on Kitiara in a way that I was not expecting. So I was like, okay, fine. You've sold me on
She
her.
fucks. What can I say?
Yeah.
I've learned that keep miles away from my religious school because that's like fucking catnip to him, so...
I mean, look, I'm happily married now, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
You know, Bob, I think, you know, you're the one person who's been on all these episodes, and so to an extent, I think I sometimes fool myself into thinking that I have a greater understanding of what drives you than I do. And I think that in general, I have a sense of your overall inclinations, I guess. but I think that, like, you know, our discussion about Fizzban, I'm like, there's some depth there that I wasn't expecting. You know, there's some complexities that I can't always anticipate. So I think what I've learned is there's always more to learn about other people's weird boners.
Aw, thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, what was really driven home to me about this is that, like, D&D is hot. Like, it's... I have such a complicated relationship with this series from a nostalgia perspective, and it was so funny because I was like, well, at the beginning when I started ranking these, I was like texting Neal, who the fuck is this person? Who the fuck is Gil Thanis? And then I found my copies of the books again, and I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, fucking, oh my god, this, and it was really took me back. But like, everybody is such an archetype so much of the time that I think the biggest conclusion to be drawn from this is that D&D is fucking sexy.
I mean, D&D is, like all other RPGs, is basically a form of fantasy fulfillment.
Yeah.
So it's just like, a lot of times, what you're seeing, especially with stories like this, where they're based on D&D campaigns, like, the characters that you're seeing are just, like, the players pouring their own, like, desires and kind of sublimated personality traits and, like, what they want to see from a story, like, into their characters, right? And so I think you do end up with, like, these really interesting, I mean, they're archetypal, but at the same time, there's something, like, really kind of interesting that drives them, right? Like, they're, like, fulfilling someone's need, right? Because, like, that's what they were created to do.
But when you drill down deeper, when you get past, like, sort of the basic D&D campaign that is Chronicles, and you actually start, like, playing with the characters and, like, telling a story about, like, love and grief and desire and that just really hinges entirely on these relationships, you can get something that's really, like, not just deep, but it's, like, really, like, emotional and sexy and awesome. I don't know. It's Legends is, like, the best the D&D gets to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking me back to the bedrooms of your childhood and tidying up most of the tissues before I got there. That was very kind of you. No, I had a lot of fun doing this, and I thank you for bringing this world to me and for sharing these characters with me and for taking me to the world of Krynn. And thank you for coming to visit this world too. Thank you for coming to visit the world of hard choices, where we make hard choices all the time. I mean, not really hard choices. Well, sometimes they're hard choices. They're definitely fun choices.
We're always hard when we make choices. Whether the choices themselves are hard.
Exactly. Dan gets it.
Yeah.
That's right.
So come back next month whenever we get incredibly meta, whenever the Ouroboros of hard choices folds in upon itself.
We're going to be ranking each other.
And everyone's number one. No. So come back next month whenever we tackle the medians. We are going to go through all the past 21 episodes, and we are going to rank the medians in their own dedicated list to find out who among the meh is kind of eh. Bye!
Can't believe there have been 21 episodes of the show.
This has been Hard Choices. If you want to show your support and get even more goofs from behind the scenes, visit patreon.com/hard choices and become a patron. You'll get exclusive voting rights and participation in every weird new thing we do. If you like the show, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and review on the podcatcher of your choice. It shows people what's fun about the show and makes it easier for others to find it too. This episode produced by Dan Mulcairn. Go listen to Garden Plots with Skeletor. He's a great Skeletor.
Our theme song is Funk Me by Soundroll. This piece and all music used in this production is licensed through Uppbeat. You can find details in our show notes and listen to more great tunes at uppbeat.io, spelled UPPBEAT.io. The Hard Choices logo is designed by Claire Mulcairn. If you'd like to get into touch with us, look for the Smash Fiction Fan Faction on Facebook and join the conversation. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. You're a peach!